Is this the part when you start tearing up pieces of shirt to bind my wounds?
If you wanted me to take my clothes off, you should have just asked.
Well, there you have it. Welcome back to this special edition of InnerSPACE featuring the cast of the upcoming flick, The Mortal Instruments, City of Bones. And with me now, you just saw him there, actor Jamie Campbell-Bower, Jace Whalen. Thanks for being here, man.
Thank you very much for having me.
Well, I want to ask you, you're beloved to genre fans, obviously Sweeney Todd, and two other movies that came out of book series. People may have heard of them, Harry Potter and Twilight. Why were you excited, though, to jump into this world of the Mortal Instruments?
I mean, I think that what really attracted me, two things really attracted me to the role. I mean, first of all, it's very much a fantasy world, but it's based in reality. It's based in human emotion. It's based in it's based in sort of what it means to be confused and what it means to be growing up. And that's something I think that I definitely can relate to, and something that I think a lot of young people can relate to. The other thing was I saw it as my opportunity to sort of recreate or reimagine the archetypal male heartthrob. You know, for a long time now, we've seen very much the sort of over-butch, very, like, super masculine, ridiculously ripped and huge, you know, male love interest. And I saw this as an opportunity to really sort of get back to what it is kids are into. You know, I have cousins who were 15, 16, and when they were that age, you know, what were they into? They were into, like, the damaged rock star. And that's what I saw this opportunity as, you know, was to bring that back into sort of, you know, popular culture, hopefully. Yeah. I mean, I'm sort of speaking about it as if it's already happened, but, you know, we'll see, we'll see.
Well, we'll talk in a minute about you taking your shirt off, and that'll help it even...
Delicious.
But I want to ask you first, you know, Clary is brought into this shadow world, but it's a world that you as Jace already reside in, so how does her arrival affect you?
Well, hugely. I mean, that's you know, Jace's main bone of contention. You know, before she arrives, he's killing demons and, you know, and sort of protecting the world. And her arrival just completely changes his entire being. He falls in love with her. He sees a strength in her that he hasn't seen in anybody else. And perhaps he sees a little bit of who he is as a character in her. And so it's confusing to him. And he's an incredibly self-absorbed, incredibly damaged character, and having her come along, it just flips everything on its head for him.
Well, it's interesting. I have no idea how actors do what they do, but you know, in watching the film, the screening I saw, it's interesting to me because you kind of walk that line between a pensive thinker and then a total ass kicker in other scenes. So as an actor, is that a challenging line to walk? Yeah, kind of. I mean, there's one particular moment in the book and also in the movie where Jace opens up to Clary. It's the greenhouse scene. He opens up to her and he shows his vulnerability. And so the reason I made him as dark and as broody and as sort of rude as he was because of the fact that when he shows that vulnerability, you sort of understand why he is like that. Yeah. And it was a huge, you know, it was a huge character point for me. Yeah, it's difficult, and I let in a lot of darkness with Jace. Yeah. But I think that it was necessary for myself to really, you know, portray who he is. Well, and you expose the top of yourself, too, in terms of being shirtless from time to time in the film. Are you prepared for the rash of faintings that this will induce around the world in movie theaters? I can only apologize if that happens. In advance. In advance, yeah. You know, I'm English, so I apologize anyway, sort of profusely and constantly. We had a girl faint on us we were at the Mall of America, and she passed out at the end of our signing. That was pretty crazy. And like Kevin and I and Lily, like we all jumped up. You know, Ziga's being obviously Canadian, you know, is just as polite, if not more, than I am. Lily, being a girl, is obviously, you know, incredibly concerned, and I'm there going, I'm sorry. Sorry about that. Yeah. I had to steady myself on my popcorn just for a moment. Well, why do you think this world that Cassandra Clare created with the books lends itself really well to films? Her writing's incredibly visceral. The way that she writes is visceral, and like I said before, you know, I think that every character is somewhat relatable to. I mean, when I watched the movie or when I read the books, I could see bits of myself in every character. Right. And they're very defined, and they're very much our three acts, particularly in the book. And I think that for a movie, that's, you know, incredibly important. When condensing that into a novel, you know, I mean, condensing that into a film from a novel, you have to make sure that you, A, stay true to the characters that people fell in love with, and B, stay true to the story. And
if the story's good enough and if the characters are good enough, sort of the excess around that doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
And that's what she was able to do as a writer. So that lends itself incredibly well to an adaptation.
What's the biggest upside to being a shadow hunter?
The leather.
The leather?
The leather, the wardrobe is a massive upside.
Is there a big downside at all?
Yeah. Lack of sleep and moodiness.
there's that, right?
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks for being here, man. And you're going to stick around?
I'm going to stick around.
Come back later on, which is awesome. We'll be back soon, but until then, everyone, stick around because there's more coming up after the break.